Okay, we're going to do pan-seared steak with mashed potatoes and steamed asparagus, and that would in itself be a good meal. This steak is a thick cut steak, so it's going to be seared on both sides and then finished off in the oven. The meal then can just go that way, or you can add a little bit of extra to the meal by using some shallots and garlic to saute them and make them into a nice additive for the steak, and you'll see how we do that. But you don't need to do that if you don't want to, but this is basically pan-seared steak, mashed potatoes and steamed asparagus. And so let's go. Okay, I've washed the asparagus right now. I'm about to get them ready to steam. But what I just did is turn on the oven for 350, put it on to bake. 350. We're going to pan-sear the steak on both sides and then rest it in the oven for 15 to 20 minutes to finish it. So the first thing in the meal, you've got to get the timing right, is do the thing that's going to take the longest first. So just pop the oven on, and so it'll be ready when we're at that point. So here we go. We got the asparagus, a really fresh asparagus, and you just take the bottom hard bit off so you can see that it'll snap quite nicely, and you could cut them, but it's just as easy to snap them off. There we are. And you make sure you get that woody bit off. These are really fresh, so it's easy to do. It took about a minute to wash it, so in the timing of this meal, in relation to the video, there's a prep time that much. And what you can do is you can cut these into smaller bits or larger bits. Here we can just cut them all up like this. And then we're going to put them in this pan. The pan's got a little steamer. You get that at a supermarket for a few bucks. And I kind of put water in that. And just enough that you can see it just comes up. There's the water. You can see it's just below the bottom of the steamer. And then what do? Just pop these in here. And there we go. We got the pot ready to go. We'll put the top on this to steam. So there we are. That's the asparagus done, just in a few minutes. The next thing is the potato. We're going to do the garlic and onion, or the shallots, while the steak is resting and finishing off in the oven. So next thing we do is do the potatoes. Potatoes take about 15 to 20 minutes to cook, so I kind of put them on as soon as I put the steak in the oven, because they take about the same amount of time to finish off, and then the meal's all ready. So we'll work that out. So let's do this bit now. We're just going to peel the potato with a peeler, kind of put it into the pot like this. You can wet the potato first, but then it gets a bit slippery to hold. So although I kind of do that a lot myself, it's easier often to just peel the dry potato so it doesn't fall into anything. Good thing about this is if it falls into the colander. So like some people peel potatoes out of the garbage can. Well, if you drop it, you kind of have a bit of a problem. Hauling your food out of the garbage is not exactly a great thing to be doing. Never have done it myself. Okay, so there we are. Washed that. There we are. And now I just want to peeler is here. Simple peeler. All kinds of peelers people have. But here we want to cut this potato just for putting in a pot. So I just do a kind of like this, so the bits aren't too big. If you make the bits big, they take like a longer time to cook, so you don't want that. So there we are. Now we pop these in the pan. Okay. Add water to that and we're ready to go on that. So add water to that. Just enough water to cover them. And there we are. There's the potatoes ready to go. So let's move towards the stove now. Okay, so we've got the asparagus sitting on the stove here. They're not ready to go yet, and we're about to do the pan searing of the steak. So I've got the steak here like this. It's a thick cut petite sirloin steak. Get that stop shop. This is about £1 pound. So what we're going to do is put some oil in here. A couple of tablespoons. Turn on the heat. Just let that heat up. Use clippers here to grab the steak, put it in there. Just let that heat up. You can see the oil is spreading out in the pan. It does that pretty much naturally. You put it down as you heat it up. So we're going to watch this in real time, and you can fast forward if you like, but I find this useful because this gives you an idea of how long it takes oil to heat up. This is a nice heavy metal pan. If you're going to pan sear something, you want to do this in a metal pan, not in a non-stick pan, because those ones don't like the high heat as much. And part of this is you end up with something stuck on the bottom. So pan searing, I always use one of these. You've got the oil running around here. Just get it nicely smooth all over the pan. What happens, how do you tell when it's ready to go? Well, by the way, the oven's right at 350 right now, so we're ready to go on that. And so let's see. Another thing I can show you. What are we going to put this steak on in the oven? Well, here is what it looks like. Just your normal grill pan that you grill on. I put the steak on that. Fat's going to drip through to the bottom. Okay, that's okay. The meat is incredibly juicy anyway, so you don't lose anything. So we'll just put that right over here. And as you watch this, you get first the oil is got just like it's a flat like a lake, but then it gets a kind of ripple on it. It gets like it's got a bit of structure in the pan. You can't see it because it doesn't have enough resolution. But you can see it's got like little waviness in it. And it's kind of shimmering a little bit. It's not completely flat. There you go. And so the thing is, olive oil here tends to smoke at a lower temperature than other oils. So the trick here is not to get it too heavy. But we're going to do it between 2 and 3 minutes aside. It depends on whether the oil starts to smoke. But here it is. You can get it pretty good. So I'm going to put that in. So grab this with the clippers, and there we are. Hear that nice sound? That means we got the oil at the right temperature. So it's pretty good. Sometimes things spatter, and there are covers you can put over a pan like this, but this steak did a pretty good job of not spattering too much. So it's pretty good here. So we're going to start the timer. Just count it down. If I have a bunch of these things, like often I'll have a number of people over for dinner, and then you maybe have 2 or 3 of these in there, and it's definitely 3 minutes aside in that case. But when you've got the single steak, there's a lot of heat in here, and so you get a pretty good sear up in about 2 minutes. So when I turn it over, I kind of use this to go under it and use these flippers to kind of turn it over. Use that. There we are. We're about 1.5 minutes out now. And you can look at it. I mean, it doesn't kill it if you lift it up and you have to put it back down again. The steak itself is kind of a nice brown top. We don't want it to be black. So just a nice bit of a sear. So let's see what it looks like now. It's about 1.5 minutes right now, and you can see you don't want to do it too much more than that. Let me show what that looks like. So there's a nice sear on that, and put it over here. So it's a dark brown, ain't black. All it does is seals it, and works really well for me. You can do scallops, seared scallops, same thing. You do seared duck breast. You can do seared thick pork chops. This is a pretty universal way to do things. So we're now at the about 2.5 minutes total. And we're going to use the stuff in the pan here. We've got some nice remnants in the steak. We're going to use that when we do the shallots and the garlic. So here we are. This is really good. And that's sticking. Once you put it down in the pan, you don't want to move it around. Some things you move around because you don't want it to stick, but sticking here is actually pretty good. So we've got that looking pretty good. Here we go, look on the other side, and that's looking great. You can sear it all down the sides here, but it's a bit of a pain trying to put this on the slide all the time. So I'm going to turn the heat off here. Rest this here. Put this and I'm going to put this right in the oven. So that's what we're going to do next. So the steak's in the oven. I'm going to count that down for 15 minutes. So I'm going to set the 15 minutes here. Start. Then we're going to put on the potato, which is right here. It's a russet potato, really nice. Just put a little bit of salt in there. I'm not a great believer in adding salt to things, but for these potatoes you need a little bit of salt. So the next thing is to put the top on. So putting the top on just means all the heat doesn't escape elsewhere, so you know it's a good way to get this potato to go. And clear tops are really great, like this one. You can see what's happening here. The potato, these tops, well, you can't actually see, you can kind of hear what's going on. So that's going. We got the steak in the oven, it'll be ready in about 15 minutes. This asparagus will take about 8 to 10 minutes from scratch. So what I'm going to do now is go and prepare the shallots and the garlic for the other little bit. That's the optional bit, but let's go do that. Okay, so this prep will take a couple of minutes. So we got the clove of garlic, and I took 2 out. We got the garlic and take the cloves out. These are cloves, you take them out, and then we want to cut them into a fine thing. Put my garlic back into my little garlic thing. So we want to do that, and then what I find really good for cutting, these are shallots, is to kind of, we want to chop them up fine and put them into little, put them in these things, very convenient. So we got the shallots. Put that into the colander in the sink, and then you can just come across here, cut that down there, cut that down there, and then once you've done that you can peel off the exterior part pretty well. So we kind of peel that off, and then you got one. Two. And the last one. Looks pretty decent, that one. I'll just take it off there. Okay, so here we are. So the thing about these things is you cut it all the way through, it falls apart. So the trick with this is to kind of come in and make a cut. So you don't cut all the way through, you cut, see that, from that point. There's one. Two. And there's no stinging eyes while you're doing this, because the bit you cut's not really exposed. This falls apart and you expose all the bits your cuts can fly up in your eyes, but this way there's almost no stinging eyes, at least at this point. So we got that. So now I always like to use a bigger knife for this. So we cut, 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 cut. As you're doing it, you can just show there's a little bit of skin got in there. Cooking is about adjustment, and so sometimes, you know, you might miss out on a little bit of skin. It's not going to kill you, but there you go. Now you get a little bit of the eye effect, because you can see the exposed part of an onion, it can see you. So you're going to get it's not too bad, because I'm keeping this fairly away from my eyes. Here we go. There's that done. Now we've got to get these other ones. Just sticks on your knife. It's a great time for things to stick to your knife. And look at that. That's fantastic. If it gets a bit rocky, you just turn it over. You don't want to ever do things too fast and too fancy. People going 500 miles an hour cutting things. It's like, it's a wonder they don't cut themselves. So I go for just reasonably quick. There we are. But no effect that's bad in my eyes right now, so we're really in great shape. So that's the shallots ready to go. Now these, I kind of top and tail these. Here we are. Let's do it with a little knife. It's easier. Very sharp Kuhn Recon knife. Kuhnrikon. I've had another one of these for about 5 years, never sharpened it, because they keep really bad. So you got that, then you come along here and you bang them. There you are. This allows you to get the skin off the garlic. Bang, there we are. Look at that. Beautifully off the garlic. Look at that. You can use a garlic press too. That minces it up, makes it really fine. Okay, so now we have this. We're going to cut this up. So you can use a little one and cut this up into little bits. Often little knives are great for little jobs, so here we go, we're going to cut this up. There we go. Once we've got a big pile of it, I find a bigger knife is better, but everyone's got their own knife technique. And doesn't have to be too fine for this. There we go. Now we've got the potatoes boiling nicely over there. We're at 6 or 7 minutes out from the original 15-minute countdown. Some of those steak takes about 20 minutes. You really can't go all that wrong. 15 minutes will get you rare, super rare. So there's the two cut-ups, and we're going to move back to the stove. So now, let's put the heat up on this. There we are. We'll heat that up. We'll let that heat up and put it up higher. And then we're going to use all that goodness from the steak. Just going to go and check the potato. It's out of sight, but I'm just checking. It's not soft yet, so that's going pretty well. So let's see what's happening here. We'll put the shallots in. You can use all kinds of things to move this around the pan, but I like these wooden Chinese ones. Use anything you like. You know, you could use this if you like here. Well, that's okay, great. I like to use these. Here we are. And then we can put the garlic around. Don't want the heat to be too high. This will kill this, but this makes a nice little additive to put on top of the steak. So this is on a medium heat now. Just heat this up. If you weren't doing this, you just stand around, you know, waiting for everything to heat up. Now at this point, we're getting towards the steak being about 13 minutes done at this point. It was pretty cold when I took it out of the fridge, so I'm going to give it 20 minutes. Again, if you're cooking a meal for someone important, one trick is to get enough steaks for everyone plus one, and then the extra one you can cut through it to see if it's done or not. There's this business of pressing steaks with your fingers, you know, see if it's well done. It doesn't bounce up as much or something, but heck, you know, the professional chefs are the guys who do that. They kind of learn how to do this, but I think it's you have to have a lot of practice to do that. So this is for your average Joe cook. Yeah, now here we go nicely here, and that is, wow, does that smell good. So it takes just a few minutes to cook. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to turn on the the asparagus. So the trick here is now you've got 4 things going. Potatoes, asparagus, and the steak in the oven. Great thing about the steak in the oven is it's not like when you grill it. Boy, you can overcook things real fast. When this is in the oven at 350, it just cooks along gently, going where it should. It's got the nice pan sear on either side, so it looks like it's kind of got that nice brown from the grill. And you can focus on the rest of the meal, so that's what's terrific. So we're about 15 minutes now. I'm going to turn this timer off and start it off, and I'm going to set it for about 8 minutes. For the asparagus. Again, you test both the asparagus and the potato with a fork. If they're ready to eat, they're soft. Also, the asparagus goes bright green. So here we've got the potatoes. How are they going? This is all out of camera view, but they're getting pretty close to done. So they're a few minutes off done. So that's fine. Here we've got this going on here. Right, so we've got this nicely cooked. So I'm going to add a little bit of chicken broth. You can add water if you like. Chicken broth is really nice. Gives it a nice flavour. And what it does is it just helps you remove the brown stuff from the steak and get it into this little sauce of, it's not a sauce, but it's a little kind of terrific additive. But look at that, you're getting the brownness from that. You could add a little bit of red wine too to this, make it kind of nice. It's really great. So we'll keep on letting that cook away. Boy, is this easy. Put the chicken broth back in the fridge. Now those potatoes, we don't want to overcook them. So what I will do is, they're nice and soft now, so I'm going to take them off. Turn off the heat off the potatoes. Now they'll still cook away in that water. See, this is cooking nicely, beautiful, gets that lovely look of good food. So here we go. So what I'm going to do is decant the potatoes, throw them out into a colander and do that stuff. So what I'll try and do is just bring you in at the point where all of the rest of this is done. Okay, so I just turned the heat off on this, and I'm going to spoon that into a dish. And then when I have the steak, I'm going to just add that on the top of the steak, and that is fantastic. Now, what could be better than shallots and garlic? So I have the potatoes over near the sink, so we got that done. It's done. So we're going to end up with this great meal. So here we go. Over there. Let's check the asparagus. So let's so I'll put that back on. I just switched it over here so you can see it. Look at that. There it is. How are they done? Still a little bit to go. So I'm going to leave them on while we switch across to do the mashed potatoes. Okay, I put the mashed potatoes in this bowl. That's the asparagus timer going. So we just use a masher. Here we go. It's all very dry. So what you do is, this is skim milk. So put a bit of skim milk in, a couple of tablespoons. Still pretty dry. You don't want to put too much or it becomes like liquid and that's no good. So I then put a little bit of cream on and we're good to go on this. So that's the mashed potato. Okay, there you go. Beautiful mashed potato. Okay, got that. And the other thing we've got is the garlic and shallots right there. And then I'm testing the asparagus. See if they're done. Beautifully done. Bring them off. So, here's the asparagus. We'll just use the colander I just used for the potatoes. So, you want to get this out. And we can just grab all the asparagus and put them in here. So the little clipper is really good for that. Because there's a billion ways to do stuff, but this is one. What matters is you got to get the asparagus into this little bowl. So, alright, so now we're going to do that. We got that. Okay, so we're going to look at the steak now. Okay, so here's the steak. Let's see what that looks like. Fork here. I'm going to cut it right down the middle. And you can see that is a beautifully done steak. Okay, so that's going to go out to the table. You could split this between two people. And what you have now here, you got your mashed potato, you got your asparagus, and you got this. And the way this goes is you sit this right on top of, well, let's do it this way. You just put that all over the top of the steak. Yeah, like that. You can grab mashed potato, pop that there like that, and then you put your And that is a heck of a dinner for someone. And all you need is a nice red wine to go with that. So, that's how you do your pan-seared steak.